Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
We're so thrilled to have on the show a musician that you're going to be hearing and seeing a lot more from. He's only 14 years old, multi-instrumentalist, and he's got a brand new album coming out. Wyatt Ellis, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me.
You know, I first became aware of you, Wyatt, from a mutual friend, Grace Bowers.
Yeah.
And then now I can't stop listening to you, and it looks like everybody else kind of feels the same, including Daily and Vincent.
Oh man.
So how did that work out to where,
Well,
you know, you ended up on the Opry a year ago
Yeah.
with Daily and Vincent?
Yeah, so back in February, they just messaged me on Instagram because, you know, they heard my playing on the
Right.
internet, and they wanted to see if I wanted to come on the Grand Ole Opry and fill in on the mandolin with them.
Wow.
Yeah.
How incredible is that?
Oh man, that was pretty mind-blowing.
Well, we've got to talk about your new album now. Happy
Yeah.
Valley is coming out, and there's so many great things to talk about this too, to where you also have a lot of guests on this album.
I do.
Now, this is unbelievable, Wyatt, to where at only 12 years old, you wrote or co-wrote all 12 of these songs that are
I
on the
did.
album. That's a big undertaking.
It is, but you know, for me, it comes quite naturally.
I mean, and the first track on the album, you've got Marty Stuart on there.
Yeah,
And speaking of which, you are currently holding the Marty Stuart mandolin.
I am. So this mandolin was actually the mandolin I played on the track with Marty.
Yeah.
And this one.
On Blue Smoke.
Yeah, this is a mandolin he had for quite a while. It's nearly 100 years old.
Wow, it's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
You know, and you're playing too, and I've got to bring this up for our viewers that may not know, because they're going to know, as with the new album and with all the great things you've been doing musically, but you really, you know, dug in deep. You know, you wanted to start playing music, you've been doing sports, obviously taekwondo and all these other great things, but then you said, I want to get into mandolin, and so
Yeah.
your parents had to buy you a mandolin.
Yeah, they did. You know, it's like I was doing like sports, you know, almost every day of the week.
Right.
And, you know, I would love to go into music stores and like play around on the instruments. I couldn't really play, but,
Yeah.
you know, I wanted a mandolin because I heard Rocky Top and living
And that was a
in-
big catalyst for you.
It was, yeah. You know, living in the Knoxville area, you know, that really introduced the mandolin to me and made me want to get a mandolin.
Right. And it's not an easy instrument. But also, I mean, I got to
Wow.
bring this up too, you know, not to embarrass you, Wyatt, but you've also picked up guitar and fiddle now.
Yes.
In your spare time.
Yeah.
How is all that working out for you? I mean, really, you haven't been playing for a long, long time,
No.
but you've really excelled. And I think what impresses me about your playing and your style is that you're going back and like studying the classics, like
Yeah.
Bill Monroe.
Yeah, the roots, you know, Bill Monroe. That's what Bobby Osborne always told me, was to go back to the roots and learn from where it all started.
And so what's your methodology? I mean, there's so many young people certainly that are wanting to learn an instrument and grow in it, and you have excelled very quickly, even back to when you started taking the Chris Henry course,
Oh man,
and then you just caught on fire with this stuff.
yeah. You know, those courses like that online during the pandemic is really what kept me inspired. You know, when
Gotcha.
everything was shut down.
Yeah. And then, but also then inspired you enough to start writing your own music?
It did, yeah. And you know, learning all those Monroe tunes like he played them inspired me, you know, to write them kind of in the same style that
Right.
he did.
And that's what I love about this album also with Happy Valley. And I want to talk about this also to where you had a great producer. You've got a guest on every song, but also you recorded this album in kind of a neat place.
I did, yeah. So, you know, that kind of ties in with the album name, you know. That the album name Happy Valley was originally, you know, we were thinking, you know, I would go fishing, you know, near the house.
Yeah.
And, you know, during the pandemic, and it was a place that I could, you know, get away, and it was called Happy Valley. And there's a creek there. And when we showed up to the studio, it was on Happy Valley Road, and it was Grandpa Jones's old farm.
And so the studio was right there, you know.
It was, yeah.
That's ridiculous. It's like that full circle,
It is.
you know, and now you've already, you know, debuted yourself as an artist on the Grand Ole Opry. I got to bring this up
Yeah.
too. Not many artists, Wyatt, you know, no matter what age, also get to play at the Crossroads, Eric Clapton's Crossroads,
Yeah.
and also get to play Don Felder's guitar.
Well, it wasn't his guitar. But it's pretty cool, though, still,
Yeah, I mean, you've rubbed shoulders with some pretty
Yeah.
incredible people now.
for sure.
And so you've got friends, you know, with Marty Stuart, Sierra Hull. I mean, it's like all of these people are reaching out to you going, hey, Wyatt, will you play some music with us? And also, you're a Gibson endorsee.
I am.
And part of the G3 group and everything. So, you know, so when you walk into the Gibson garage here in Nashville, do they just like roll out the red carpet for you and just start handing you guitars and mandolins?
I do like to play the guitar and mandolins.
Well, and also, now tell me if I'm wrong, you got to tour the factory, the Gibson Custom Factory.
Yes.
So?
Well, you know, it's really awesome for me to get to see how they're made, you know, the mandolins and the guitars and the process behind all of that.
Right. Yeah, just incredible. And so I understand, too, they're going to be like building one for you specifically.
We don't know that yet.
Maybe we should bring that up. Maybe, you know, I'm thinking maybe a signature model would be nice in the near future.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll just put that out there. You know, it could happen. So, I mean, obviously with everything that you've got going on and still school, you know, doing school and everything online, but, you know, the new album, there's so many great tracks on here. And I like it, you know, listening to your previous interviews and everything that you've done, Wyatt, you call them the ancient tones.
Yeah.
And so kind of explain that to viewers when you say that.
So the quote, the ancient tones, comes from Bill Monroe and Peter Rowan, actually. And they both used it. But, you know, the ancient tones is something that, you know, Bill Monroe always strived for, you know, and really something inspiring to him, whatever it might have been, which, you know, I try to go for that in, you know, some of my own compositions.
That's amazing. Well, I've got to bring this up also. We mentioned Bobby Osborne, and you know, unfortunately, he passed away. And the last track that he sang on, you got to play mandolin on this track.
I did, yeah.
That gives me goosebumps just talking about it.
Yeah, so I got to play the solo on Rocky Top.
Right.
And, you know, Bobby, he got all the parts recorded, the singing. But, you know, he didn't get to record the mandolin, so I ended up doing that.
How incredible. And also playing the IBMAs. I mean, all these events, and you've got a huge amount of festivals that we can't, you know, they're going to have to go to your website for all of that. But I think 2024 is going to be a big year for you.
I think so. I'm not even sure, but, you know, it should be pretty exciting.
Are you looking at doing more collaborations? Because I know that, you know, a lot of musicians are reaching out to you, but also as an artist yourself, I mean, being a multi-instrumentalist, I mean, starting on piano at a young age and then playing mandolin, guitar, and fiddle, other than drums, you can essentially be your own band.
Well, yeah, I just need to get a little better on the bass.
You know what? I think we can make that happen.
Yeah.
You know, since you're already getting, you know, the guitar and everything else down, I don't think the bass is going to be, the drums maybe, that's a little, you know.
Yeah, well, got the mandolin, it's basically a drum.
Exactly, very percussive, and that sounds so good. And I know also that that's the neat story behind this, to where, you know, this is one of those instruments that you knew you wanted and that your family wanted you to have. And you had to, you know, as most musicians, you had to sell a few instruments to acquire it, right?
Yeah, well, I actually ended up selling my bass boat as well.
And then what did Marty tell you when you told him that, Marty Stuart?
Oh, he said, Marty said you can always get another boat.
That is a musician statement right there, because you can't always get a historical instrument like that. You know, and like you and I were talking before we came down to the studio too, Wyatt, to where it seems like in some ways, such as Marty Stuart, you know, playing with the huge bands at the same age as you, it seems like you guys are kind of paralleling each other.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah, do you find that interesting?
Yeah, because, you know, he went on the road with Lester Flatt when he was my age, you know, and, you know, played the mandolin.
And then all those years with Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
And then now with his own great band, and I mean, you know, it's worked out pretty well for Marty.
It has, yeah.
Are you, I mean, what are you thinking about with your music? Obviously with Happy Valley out, and thank goodness it's going to be on vinyl, because all the tracks are great. You've got the different moods, the different, you know, styles and everything. I think also the collaborators that you had on here, you know, the list of different musicians that you brought on, they all kind of add to it.
Yeah, they do.
Did you have fun playing with them, doing it?
Oh, man, yeah, they're all my heroes, and, you know, I get to, you know, even playing with my heroes, you know, jamming with them is amazing, but recording's even more amazing.
That's got to be incredible. I mean, for anybody at any age. And I know besides that, you know, studying, you know, Bill Monroe and Bobby Osborne and all these great musicians, but also you're wanting to push the envelope, because there's certainly the traditional mandolin, but also the newer mandolin
Yeah.
styles. And you're a young person. You don't want to be confined, do you?
No, but I do love to, play the traditional style, and that's definitely my favorite. But I try to, push the music ahead a little bit as well.
Well, and I understand too. You got to jam with some people, before at the Opry and everywhere,
Yeah.
including like Vince Gill.
Yeah, Vince Gill, Mark O'Connor, all those guys just hanging around,
That's like me saying I'm jamming with my next door neighbor, but you're saying, Vince Gill, Mark O'Connor, Marty Stuart. This is the circle you're moving within, playing music at 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's big.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So I got to ask you this: with Happy Valley, with the album, coming out February 2nd, are you going to be doing like autographed albums? I mean, what's the plan? Are you going to, to get the music out there to everybody? Because I know it's going to be a huge hit.
Yeah.
And also, the singles that have already come out have done incredible on the charts so far. I think this could be like the big album for 2024. What do you think?
Oh man, well I sure hope so. But it's just. For me, it's just really cool to, have all these tunes documented, that I wrote with some of my heroes.
So do you think at some point that you're probably going to go back and do some tribute work also, for some of your favorite artists?
Yeah, I think that's coming up for me.
Well, and I think also a number of artists are going to be wanting you to come on board and play on their albums and their songs. That's not a bad thing either, Wyatt.
No, yeah.
I mean, how fun is that? And I know also, besides, being with Gibson, you've also been with Dierks Strings, because playing as much as you do go through a few guitar strings and mandolin strings.
Yes, and, just to have, some of the coated strings, helps the strings last a lot longer.
Well, I've got to ask you this, Wyatt, because people are going to want to know, in between, doing, writing original compositions, becoming so skilled and masterful at the mandolin and your other instruments, when do you find time to do your taekwondo and go fishing and have some fun? When does Wyatt get to relax and have fun there in Maryville, Tennessee?
I definitely set aside some time for that. But, I do like to play the mandolin and, try to keep a good balance.
Well, and you got to get to Dollywood every once in a while, right? I mean, you got to, at least pitch and forge or something, just a little relaxed time.
I think most of the relaxed time for me is playing the mandolin, so,
That's why you keep getting better at it.
Yeah.
Because you just keep playing it. So it's like, do you dream of it like you're on the road or when you're at home, or do you like thinking about it all the time?
Yeah.
It shows. Well, I'll tell you what, you're an incredible musician. And Happy Valley, a great album. I know our viewers are going to want to get their own copy and also add it to their playlist. Where do they go for everything? Website, social media, everything Wyatt Ellis?
Yeah, my website is wyattellis.com, and I'm Wyatt Ellis Mandolin on Instagram, Wyatt Ellis on Facebook.
And I think you're also going to be, on Opry. I'm betting that you're going to be on the Opry more. And then there'll be other announcements, like maybe a signature model. And then you're going to have to, once again, like Mark O'Connor, you're going to have guitars, your fiddle. You're going to need roadies just to carry all the equipment.
Yeah. It is.
Those cases aren't light. We were talking about it coming in the studio.
They're pretty heavy.
Well, you get a workout then.
Yeah, and blisters on your hands, too.
Hey, as long as you got the calluses on your fingers, you're okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's great having you on the show. Congratulations on Happy Valley.
Oh, thank you.
And I can't wait to see you live. Now, also, Wyatt's going to be playing a lot of festivals, so be sure and check his website and social media, because you don't want to miss this young man playing live. Thanks for joining us, Wyatt.
Thank you for having me.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.